Here, come on, Stark, stay with us.
Let me try
Stay with
something,
us.
okay? I have no idea if it's gonna work.
Recently, Marvel has kind of been off exploring every little side quest possible instead of just giving us a fresh, solid new team like they did with the original Avengers. I'm not saying the Thunderbolts aren't cool or that the Fantastic Four won't be a great first step towards something bigger. What I'm really getting at is Marvel seems to be slowly working toward putting together a team that could actually match the level of the Avengers, and based on some recent updates, it looks like Marvel is finally getting serious about it. So let's dive into everything we've heard so far about the new Young Avengers project they've been cooking up. One of the newest faces in the MCU even dropped some comments about his future with the franchise, which honestly sounds like great news for the Young Avengers. Marvel's entire plan with this multiverse saga seems to be all about gradually introducing a fresh crop of heroes. Sure, they brought in groups like the Thunderbolts and are rolling out the Fantastic Four, but we shouldn't ignore the fact that they've been quietly laying the groundwork for another super promising bunch of young heroes this whole time. The Young Avengers are expected to show up before the multiverse saga wraps, and when you think about all the possibilities, from brainy teenagers to kids of existing heroes, there's definitely no shortage of potential team members. One of the most obvious choices right now is Joe Locke's Billy Maximoff. He popped up in Agatha All Along last year. Technically, he's the son of Scarlet Witch, and after the chaos in Westview, Billy's spirit ended up in a new body. Given who his parents are and the legacy he inherits in the MCU, it's pretty clear Marvel plans to keep him around for a long time. And here's the thing. The MCU has already laid the foundation for its Young Avengers in a pretty major way. Even though they haven't officially come together on screen yet, it's basically confirmed in the story that they're on the way. Remember how, at the end of the Marvels, Kamala Khan approached Kate Bishop with this big idea to start a team? The way Kamala pitched it was almost exactly like how Nick Fury roped the original Avengers in. Even though Kamala and Kate's little group doesn't have an official name yet, it's pretty safe to say they're the seeds of what'll eventually become the Young Avengers. What's great is Kamala has so many young heroes to choose from now. Think about it. There's Cassie Lang, Riri Williams, and America Chavez, and now Billy is in the mix too. At the end of Agatha All Along, Billy actually agrees to team up with Agatha so he can dig deeper into his powers and get more answers about his life. It feels like Marvel is intentionally keeping his path open-ended, probably so they can slot him into bigger projects whenever they want. It almost guarantees he'll cross paths with the Young Avengers down the line. And Joe Locke's recent comments make the idea of Billy joining the Young Avengers even more likely. When actors sign up for Marvel, they're usually hoping for one of those big multi-year contracts so they can really plant themselves in the franchise. In an interview with The Playlist, Locke was asked about his Marvel contract and what Kevin Feige might have planned for Wiccan. Locke didn't give away specifics, nobody ever does, but he did joke that when he signed, it was basically like signing up for life. He said, "Kevin Feige doesn't ring you up, but when I signed my contract, I signed for my whole life. So you sort of wait for them. You're in limbo to them, which is, there are worse things to be in limbo for." Even though we don't know exactly how many movies or shows he's tied to, it's obvious Locke is in this for the long haul, and that's a good sign for Wiccan's future. It seems pretty intentional on Marvel's part too. Keeping him around for years sets him up perfectly to be a major player on the Young Avengers. That kind of long-term story arc means he'd have a stable team to keep coming back to and plenty of other heroes to bounce off of naturally. Now, if we look closer at Billy himself, he's basically a perfect fit for this team. He's the kind of hero we've literally watched grow up on screen. From his weird magical birth in WandaVision to his rebirth of sorts in Agatha All Along, Billy's entire life revolves around his powers. And because he's the son of Wanda and Vision, he's got these deep emotional ties to the original Avengers lineup. So it'd be pretty poetic for him to continue their legacy, but also stand on his own 2 feet as a hero. Plus, Billy's got some pretty heavy personal stakes. He wants to find his brother Tommy, and on top of that, there's all the messy baggage around his mother's death and her villainous rep. Being on a team like the Young Avengers would give Billy a chance to sharpen his powers while also figuring out what he wants to do next. It'd be kind of a safe haven for him, surrounded by peers dealing with similar stuff. With so many promising new heroes popping up in the MCU lately, Locke's involvement in the Young Avengers seems almost inevitable. But here's an interesting flip side. There's actually a bit of a problem lurking that people have started to notice. The whole idea behind the Young Avengers is that they're supposed to be, well, young. But a bunch of these actors are creeping up on the same ages that the original Avengers actors were when they first assembled. Back in 2012, most of the Avengers were in their late 20s or early 30s. Chris Evans was 30, Scarlett Johansson was 26, and Chris Hemsworth was 28. Compare that to the potential Young Avengers cast, and the gap's closing fast. For example, by 2025, Haley Steinfeld and Katherine Newton will both be 28. Dominique Thorne will be 27. Even Joe Locke will be 21, and some, like Jack Veal and Joel Gomez, are still clearly in the teen range, but overall the group is aging up quickly. And since a proper Young Avengers movie or series probably won't drop for a few more years, because Marvel projects notoriously take forever to develop and film, it's likely that a few of these actors could be in their 30s by the time it finally hits screens. So that's raised a pretty valid question. Will it even make sense to label them the Young Avengers by then? Honestly, given how the MCU's changed post-Endgame, it might be smarter to just blend these characters into the new main Avengers lineup instead. Right now, Sam Wilson is Captain America, and a bunch of the original heavy hitters have either hung up their suits or died. In Captain America Brave New World, Sam's even trying to build his own Avengers team, but the pool of available heroes is kinda thin. When you look at how seasoned Kate, Riri, and the others already are, it almost seems silly to keep calling them a junior team. They've been through enough to stand alongside vets like Sam, Doctor Strange, and Captain Marvel. Keeping them siloed under a Young Avengers label could end up shortchanging them and their experiences. It might actually be more meaningful for Marvel to drop the Young tag altogether and just present them as the natural next-gen Avengers. And with so many unresolved cliffhangers still hanging out there in the MCU, from all those famous post-credit teases to open storylines involving characters like Doctor Strange and Monica Rambeau, folding these younger heroes directly into the main team could actually help tie everything together. It would let Marvel keep that big interconnected universe vibe while also keeping these characters front and center. So whether Marvel sticks to their Young Avengers idea or decides to merge them straight into the new Avengers squad, one thing's pretty clear. We're watching the groundwork for the next big team slowly take shape. It's taken a bunch of little side quests and smaller character intros to get here, but it finally feels like they're setting up something that could eventually stand shoulder to shoulder with the original Avengers. And with actors like Joe Locke ready to stick around for the long run, it looks like the future of the MCU's team-ups is in some pretty solid hands. And that's that for today's video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.